Key challenges of virtual intercultural teams. From your point of view, what are the main challenges of virtual teamwork?
So the main challenges I personally think is the personal contact and the energy level that evolves out of personal contact. So I think when working personally together, doesn't matter whether we are in the team or with our clients, I can really feel whether my opinion or my idea has reached the other person, or do we have a mutual understanding. So I feel it's much easier to feel that, and also to share excitement together is much easier and more delightful. Whether talking into a computer, I find, needs more energy work than being in the same room. So what I experience after like long video conferences is that I'm much more exhausted than after a real brainstorming session, for example.
I think one of the main challenges of virtual teamwork is time management, especially across time zones. When you have virtual teams across different countries, or especially across different time zones, it's not that easy to find common ground, when to meet, under what terms. One is in the office while the other one is already working from home. So I think time management is one of the challenges. The second challenge, I would think, is actually regulating the communication within the group. So usually virtual teams are pretty big. Our team meetings were always between 20 to 50. So actually disciplining yourself to let the other one speak and to listen, to respect the other one's opinion is more difficult in a virtual team than if you would sit together in a room, because everyone is sitting from, or maybe participating from home, and it's quite easy to maybe slip into a kind of disrespectful tone, or because you don't have the other one physically there. He or she is just there virtually, so it could be difficult to keep that track. And the other challenge I think is also apparent is keeping track of results, because everyone is safe from home and or virtual, and to keep track of results, and because you don't see the other one's work, you only see his face or his or her face, and you're not able to keep track of the results of the work that's being done than if you work in a physical environment.
So we need to work on the infrastructure of these tools supporting internet to reach everyone. If we want to talk about people in Europe here, or like in the US, or it will be easier for them to reach to such a things. But we want to talk about to African countries, or like in the Asian countries, it will be like for many of them it's hard to reach the internet, and also for them they are not all of them familiar with these new tools and new things. So I think this is like the main challenges which is we should face together.
I think it's very important that everybody knows what is like an etiquette in virtual communication, because I've experienced people sitting in meetings and conferences having their cameras turned off or having their audio turned off, and you basically don't know what the reaction is, or whether they're participating really actively in the call or doing something different. So I think this is very important, and also what is related to the structure, the way of working basically, is that we make sure people are not, everybody's not talking at the same time, that we have certain rule of when somebody wants to say something, wants to contribute to the conversation. In Teams, Microsoft Teams, for instance, there are possibilities to raise the hand and say stuff rather than everybody speaking at the same time. So I think the structure is very important. Everybody has to know what are the rules of communication, because basically you're seeing 20% of the overall communication, and 80% is what is nonverbal. And I think that's why it's very important to see the people in that kind of conversation.
Crucial. If you've never met somebody and the only way you've met them is through a virtual link, you never have the ability or the option or the opportunity to understand what that person is about. If they say something in a particular way, you can only take it as said if it's in a virtual environment. If it's in a face-to-face environment, it has a considerably different impact between the two different people. And I think linked with that is the ability to socially interact with the people that you're working with, both before the event, so you can have a chat, during the event itself, and importantly, after the event, going for a drink or a meal and chatting further about the work is incredibly important and something that you lose if you work on a virtual basis. On the other hand, and a lot of the European projects that I worked on, we would have a meeting once or twice a year, so you would get to know your colleagues. And if you then subsequently meet with them virtually, that's fine, because you know them, you understand what they're about. But if you've never met a person, I think it's a very significant disadvantage to not be able to have that direct human interaction. Time zone differences can also be a bit of an issue. And finally, language is incredibly important. And particularly in the meetings and the virtual environments that I've been used to working in, English is the working language. And as a native English speaker, it's of course a huge advantage to be in my mother tongue. But I think it's also equally important to be aware that other people are not in their mother tongue and to not use phraseology that might be difficult for a non-native speaker to understand. So I think an awareness of linguistic differences is incredibly important.